Mephisto me right, Daddy. No, we're not talking
Oh,
about...
are we gonna make merch that says that now? Mephisto me, Daddy.
We're cutting that.
Oh no, we're not.
No. Last time we opened the frickin' show with a bit about me getting fisted and Terence losing his watch. Leave it in.
It was a Rolex, sir. It's more than just a watch.
At least that's what you told the insurance company.
I said G. I said O. I said O. I said D. I said M. I said ORNING. Good morning, Krakoa! Hi, everybody. Good morning, Krakoa. I'm Michael.
I'm DeVon.
And I'm Terence. Oh, if you all could just see DeVon's expression right now.
And each week I make it my mission to do something even more absurd than the last week to start the show. But also, I make it my mission and our mission to talk about the latest X books. We will discuss them. We will dissect them. We will go down numerous rabbit holes of various shapes and sizes. And we'll do all of it from a terrifically progressive queer bent. So if that's your scene, sit back, stay a while, get comfy. How are we doing, guys?
Great. In fact, these are the only rabbit holes we can go down without angering PETA.
Woof.
You know, there is a G-rated interpretation of that, which I suppose proves how disgusting and perverted we really are.
My sister's Zoom baby shower was about an hour ago, and I made a lot of inappropriate jokes, not realizing that half the people on that Zoom call were ministers.
Oh my God.
I'm proud of you.
So she will be calling me tomorrow. And I will refuse to apologize, as I should not.
Good.
Because I was fucking hilarious.
Absolutely. We know you were.
Yeah, Jesus, take a joke.
Right.
God damn.
The group Hive Mind was asked for advice on raising a boy child. This is her first son. And mine was, I'm not a father to any children of any gender, but having been a teenage boy, I would say, after knocking, wait 5 seconds.
Oh my God.
That did not go over as well as I thought it would. There were some laughs, but they were all on mute.
Next time, tell her to just invest in more socks.
Everyone was congratulating her on her next child. And I was like, congrats at reaching the end of this uterine relay race. We know it's the end because this one's born with the baton attached.
Ah! Hey.
Right? I'm here all night, folks. Also did not go over very well.
Look, someone has to be the heathen that they pray about after the service.
I won't deny it. I'm preparing my YouTube apology video right now. It has been brought to my attention that my actions and words have brought harm to many, and I want to say right now that I fully apologize for everything that I said on camera.
So you can, of course, still find me on Parler.
And right now at iapologize.com.
What if that was a real thing and it was just like,
oh, the domain is up for sale. I am buying it.
So if you later on find out that DeVon has become a multimillionaire for purchasing the domain to iapologize.com, you've heard it here first.
I demand royalties. It was my idea.
Oh, it's taken. Fuck.
Well, you can always have iapologize.net.
.org even.
Actually, those are all taken. What is available is iApologist and The Apologize.
What about iapology.ze?
I think that's too clever for the people who would be apologizing on the internet. All right, I need to figure out some way to monetize people's insincere apologies, making me the next most horrible person on the planet. Jeff Bezos, I'm coming for your spot, bro.
Good luck topping that until you're starting to force people to pee in bottles in order to do their jobs.
He does that already.
But that's just for fun.
It's my kink.
Yeah. Didn't you notice? DeVon doesn't have a bathroom.
That is true. Folks at home, I don't know if you know this, but we have both been in DeVon's casino decor apartment, and it does not have a bathroom. Yeah.
I mean, I felt I could expand my closet, and I did. So, I mean, outside is still free.
Yeah, and he's on like the 4th floor, so you can just pee off the balcony onto someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Atlanta. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, don't yuck his yum.
Anyway.
Okay, so what books do we have today?
This week, we have Wolverine number 11 by Benjamin Percy and Scott Eaton. And we have Children of the Atom number 2 by Vida Ayala and Bernard Chang.
I'm also going to be talking tonight about Madeline Ashton. No, I'm actually going to be talking about Runaways issue number 35. Which I know I'm edging into flatscan territory.
Oh my god, after so much grief that I was given.
I know, you opened the door and now corruption has taken us all. So I hope you're happy.
Not all of us. Some of us remain
now.
pure with our X titles.
So I will be talking about Runaways number 35, which is by Rainbow Rowell and Andres Genolet. So what we will do is the same thing we did last time. You can feel free to describe it as you like. There's no timer pressure. But just keep it in mind to keep it tight. I know you always keep it tight. And then we'll figure out how much time it took. Are you ready, DeVon? In 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Children of the Atom number 2 picks up in a place where Children of the Atom number 1 led, but didn't necessarily leave off. The Hell's Bells are in prison, making their one call to some mysterious figure to let them out of prison. Then we see the Whitest Avengers showing up at some X-Corp location to declare that the mutants have a problem and that they should fix it. But the mutants, Storm and Mystique particularly, are all like, yeah, you shouldn't be here. This is our problem, and why are you telling us about it? Then Mystique is tasked with finding the unfindable, and that's all we hear about that. Then we move on to our favorite possible mutant imposters, the Children of the Atom. We don't exactly know if they're mutants quite yet, but they're going to a completely anachronistic Dazzler concert. And while they are in line, Cole, the guy that we saw last issue, who was mysteriously brought back from the brink of death to slam dunk on Cherub, our favorite angel-like semi-mutant. He's being very vague about exactly how he was healed and brought back to health. At this point, we are pretty sure it was Krakoan resurrection. At least I am, but it's never explicitly stated. Then Nighty Nightcrawler, formerly Daycrawler, or as you may know him, our Nightcrawler Simulacrum, informs the team via group text that the Hell's Bells are breaking out of prison. So they all teleport there, get their asses handed to them by Briquette, the only one of the one of the 2 Hell's Bells that we know of who have retained their powers. And then Storm shows up right after the Children of the Atom are being defeated, along with 3 lesser tier mutants, to offer amnesty to not only the Hell's Bells, but also to the Children of the Atom, who reject it despite their struggles with trying to go through the Krakoan gates. In fact, this issue closes with them failing or attempting to go through the Krakoan gate a 3rd time, even though it was revealed or granted to them as a possibility. And that was like 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah.
A new record, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a 1 minute man, and I've never proposed to be, so I'm gonna hold that.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, he's a 3-minute man.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it scales. All right, it scales. Everyone, let's just keep this. So, what did we like? What did we not like about this issue?
I like that Mystique was in it. I like that Mystique gave all the sass to the Avengers. Anytime Mystique is given sass to the whitest Avengers, I'm happiest about it.
And that Storm backed her up too.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we do get a great scene of mutant unity, but I wasn't sure it was completely warranted. But I mean, considering who they sent, the billionaire Tony Stark, Captain America himself in 2020, and Captain Marvel, like the first female Avenger.
Whatever. I mean, Storm knows Carol. Carol's done been in the X-Men business. They're not
Right?
afraid of her.
I mean, Carol has been a pseudo mutant herself back in her binary days where she didn't quite understand what was going on with her and her powers.
Yeah, and so who has she been rolling up with lately? The Avengers. So the X-Men don't need her.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here, I think, I was reading on some forum postings about reactions to this issue, and of course, you get those people who are very polarized about the way that mutants are conducting themselves now. And one of those comments was something like, are we supposed to like the X-Men when they just keep acting like this? They're so aggressive. And I'm like,
excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. Like, marginalized people don't need to be well-behaved and nice and friendly and pleasant to your flat scan asses.
No, excuse me. Hold up. Hold on. I need to go put some acrylics on real fast. No, ma'am. You don't get to tone police me and tell me how I'm going to behave when you're the one that has been the oppressor. How many times have the Avengers been against them? How many times have the Avengers been like, hey, join us in this little civil war dispute? Never mind the fact that we didn't help you when all your babies were burning, or when asteroid M was falling to the earth, or when the kids got blown up in the school bus, or when snipers attacked the school, or when all the mutants lost their powers and you're like, sucks, bro.
Or no mention that we're fucking with your ex, the Phoenix.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't mention that at all either. No. You don't get to do this, Avengers. You don't get to tell our merry mutants how they're going to react to you, especially, hold on, let me enunciate this better, especially when you are coming to enforce a law that you yourself say is unjust. And you're saying you're not enforcing it, but what the hell do you call y'all need to come get y'all's people?
Right.
If not
Exactly.
enforcing it.
I'm glad Storm basically showed their asses out.
She very politely told them, we will send for you next time.
I really liked that the mutants are given no fucks, like 0 fucks to the Avengers. That's pretty great. I still think that the very obvious thing here is that these kids are not actually mutants.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to interpret Storm saying, oh, there's something blocking Cerebro from reading you, which is just to say Cerebro just can't find you because you're not actually mutants. Though then again, Cerebro has never had problems reading flat scans as well. So maybe that's what that actually means, that they can't even locate the kids, even if they were humans.
So this really falls
That's a good
flat
point.
for me. Given the number of metahumans in this universe, that they would still believe that these kids are mutants is weird, and the fact that there's a very loud mutant following. There are fans of mutants out there to the point that they dress like them, they act like them. There's a cult following mutants and worshiping mutants. That Cerebro isn't picking up these kids who ostensibly have powers should really register higher on their radar. The X-Men should be a little more wary about this than what is being exhibited here.
Yeah, I just don't really understand why Storm, as a representative for Krakoa and the X-Men, why the X-Men actually believe that these kids are mutants, given all of this. I think last time when we talked about this series, there was the theory you had, DeVon, that it is because this book just came out very late when it was supposed to come out much earlier, when we really hadn't solved the mystery of why Kate couldn't go through the portal. But at this point, I feel like I don't really have a reason to believe that these kids are mutants, and why they're so willing to keep trying in the gate, but not actually want to go through themselves. I don't think the mystery should be held through the second issue. I was hoping it would have just been resolved right here and then.
No, you're right. I think the publication order here is a glaring issue because not only do we have the issue with Cole, who was brought back mysteriously from the brink of death. But we also have the Hell's Bells, who are depowered and think that they're not welcome on Krakoa because they go there and they'd see all these other mutants, flaunting their powers, and then they just be what? Like former mutants on an island of powered people. They clearly don't know about resurrection.
Yeah.
And this is meant to have come out at a time when we aren't very sure about how it works and what the rules are, but they've been very established since then. So, if you're keeping up with X books and you read Children of the Atom, this falls flat. Everything in it is just not on time. I really think that this book has been done a disservice by having been published so late.
And
that really doesn't explain why Dazzler is so popular with these teenagers, but we will get into that later.
let it go. Dazzler's just popular, man. Let it go.
No, Dazzler, the poster came from Dazzler number 20, volume 1, which was published in 1982. I really don't understand how she's still using this IP in 2021, but whatever.
It's retro chic. If you can't tell from the length of our shorts and everything else that's happening in fashion right now, the 70s are raging and
No. Dazzler is catfishing on an epic scale.
It does bring to question, would it be possible for someone like Dazzler, if she were aging in real time, to use, say, mask to like get that nice, good plastic surgery face?
In theory, Dazzler is extremely rich, so she wouldn't have to because Cher doesn't have to.
But I mean, honestly, I was just reading more about Callisto, and I found out that era where she had the octopus tentacles coming out of the sides of her body was actually Mask manipulating her body so that she would have tentacles. So apparently Mask can do a lot of crazy stuff, and that includes keeping Dazzler young. Mask is basically Isabella Rossellini in Death Becomes Her, but for mutants.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes, they are.
They referred to Lila Cheney as retro, while Dazzler is modern.
That confused the shit out of me. It really did, because and that was like Lila was something his mom was into, and I'm like, hold up, how old is his mom?
But how old are they? How old is
I know.
Dazzler? Why is Dazzler still relevant? Lila Cheney is not. Lila Cheney is a space pirate. Why is this not a thing?
Yeah, Dazzler was like taking over for Lila when she first encounters Malice. Uncanny X-Men.
Wait a second. That makes this even weirder. Dazzler came out in 1980. Lila came out in 1984.
This is why I was confused.
Yeah, but that makes sense because Dazzler is part of she has a small part in the Dark Phoenix saga. And that's before anything with Lila Cheney and like New Mutants era really happened.
But the point is that Lila Cheney apparently had a music career before Dazzler did.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dazzler is floating in all sorts of contemporary pop. She outsold Gaga. She did a single with Lizzo, and she's clearly like had a steady career, whereas Lila is a very 80s looking character.
Can you name a single 80s musician who is still relevant today? 90s music.
Madonna.
Okay.
Did you forget who you're talking to?
That high school kids would go to see.
Madonna. No, I don't think high school kids would actually go see Madonna.
That high school kids would go to see.
We'll let the clock run out on this one.
I think Prince or Michael Jackson, high school kids would still go to see if they were still alive.
Well, yeah, they would now because of the novelty of watching a zombie perform.
Okay.
Okay, but not Prince. I mean, if Prince were still alive, people would still go to see him.
Yeah.
Not high school-aged kids.
Yeah.
I think so.
They buy tickets weeks in advance. They would go because their parents brought them.
I don't know. I think they're still contemporary. I mean, Beyonce's from the 90s.
Look, that's very
still go to see her.
It's very, very different.
She's from the 90s, DeVon, except aging.
No.
Yeah.
You keep saying no.
You grew up with us. And also,
yes.
would probably not be at that concert. It would be a whole bunch of middle-aged gay men, and you know it.
The high school kids stand Beyonce. She's the queen.
I don't know. Let's go to a Beyonce. Get me tickets to a Beyonce concert and we'll do a study.
It's gonna
I see what you're doing.
Another thing that I caught here, one of the flags for me was gimmick. the way she talked about maintaining their costumes and their powers and things like that. Again, Gimmick's dialogue in Children of the Atom #2 feels like the giveaway for me that these kids are really not mutants, because she keeps talking about like, oh, I'll never get used to that teleporter. She doesn't say I'll never get used to teleportation. I'll never get used to the way that Nighty Nightcrawler teleports. She's talking about a teleporter, which makes it seem like it's a thing, it's an invention, it's a power that they have. And just the way that they talk about they wouldn't do that to all her hard work, all that kind of stuff, really makes it feel like this team has powers because of something that Gimmick has created through technology.
Ooh, that actually did stick out to me, and I'm really hoping that this is not a WandaVision situation where only one of these characters is real.
I mean, it really, maybe that could be it. Maybe it's really because this book did focus more on Cherub this time, but there seems to be a lot of underlying information about Gimmick. They talk about her having to save up a lot to get these tickets. She really wanted to see Dazzler. So there's stuff that's kind of focusing on her, even when other characters are in the fore. And I kind of wonder, maybe it is a similar situation where maybe it's actually that Gimmick is the one who is the mutant, and they're all supporting her. And maybe she does have tech. Maybe that's part of her mutant power, or maybe her mutant power is to give other people simulacra of mutant powers. Or like
she's like a forge type power.
Exactly. So maybe Gimmick is the one who we should be focusing on in this book.
Yeah, we don't actually see any of the kids use their powers without their costumes.
Yep.
So I don't know why they keep trying to go through the gate then.
That's why I was so worried that this was going to become a weird Rachel Dolezal of mutants sort of situation. The kids may know that they're not mutants, but that hasn't stopped them from believing that they deserve to be considered mutants. Now, the only flaw with this theory I've just posited that maybe Gimmick is the one who's actually the mutant is she's also tried to go through the gate and she hasn't been able to. So clearly there's something there. Whatever's affecting them is also affecting.
She's never the one actually like leading the charge. She's just kind of going along. And Cyclops she's been the one leading the charge for going through the Krakoan gate, which is an awkward place for a permanent gate, right under the pier for
yeah.
But whatever, you leave them, I guess, where you want to.
Right. Oh, a separate thing. I know you mentioned in your summary a group of 3 like lower tier mutants, and I was able to recognize at least 2 of them. So when Storm shows up, she's clearly bringing with her Toad. She's also got Mercury with her.
Is that Mercury
or is it Husk?
No, I couldn't tell.
That's Mercury's new X-Men costume.
But she's blonde.
She's like a redhead blonde. Yeah, and that's why I think it's a coloring issue. But then you also see later on when she plants the gate, she's got flesh tone. So I don't know if at first I thought that was supposed to be Boom Boom. And then I thought, well, maybe it's a coloring error for Mercury. And then I have no idea who Gunslinger Sally is here.
I know her. One. That's Outlaw.
Is Outlaw a mutant?
Yeah. Outlaw is from the Domino book. She's a really good friend of Domino.
Oh.
She has super strength and nothing else.
Okay, well, she never gets a close-up, so I had no idea who she was.
We should also mention that Storm is in her 90s X-Men costume, which we have not really seen in the comics.
Yeah.
Since the 90s, actually, in real time.
Which is a nice throwback to Children of the Atom.
Oh, good point. That could be what we're seeing here, or Storm could be a figment of one of these kids' imagination. Which is, I'm still going with the WandaVision angle here.
I didn't know you worked for We Got This Covered.
Screen rant, but I'll forgive you.
So what's interesting is there was a lot of focus this time on Cherub. To me, the issue ended very abruptly. They're trying to get through this gate again, but we know what happened last time, so I don't know why we ended on this point. And I was hoping that it would give us more of a clear indication finally at the very end for why we are thinking about Cherub more. Why are we talking about him more this time? It talks about his upbringing, a lot of the stereotypes that have been laid upon him, and that's why he really identifies with mutants and the X-Men. but it really doesn't tell us why in this issue we're really exploring him. There are past issues where people just explore a different character each time, but this seemed to be building towards something that was crucial in the plot, and it never lands at the end, and I don't know why.
I definitely got, and this is 2 episodes in a row I've referenced them, but I love them. I got a serious Animorphs vibe from this team of kids. You've got these 5 kids. They're kind of misfits, but not really. They're from different walks of life, and each book is going to give us a bunch of internal monologue based off of that kid and their life, and that'll be how we learn it. And if our theory is right, the final book is going to be Gimmick's internal monologue book, and then we'll learn she's a Forge-esque mutant or whatever.
Or maybe she's secretly a Doombot.
They're all Doombots.
And then the last thing I just wanted to point out here that no one talked about, but White Queen, if you're nasty.
Oh, I wanted to point that out. I love it.
Yeah.
But who is White Queen if you're nasty?
White Queen if you're nasty is just another kid on this mutant fan blog that they are all a part of.
Oh, that website that they all follow.
Yeah.
There were a couple of things I did like about this book. It was very interesting to hear Cherub's mom's comments about mutants.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell she's not bigoted. She doesn't hate them, but she has a very healthy fear, not of them, but of what happens around mutants.
Right. She may understand the nuance, but it's really hard to translate that to a teenager.
Yeah.
When you're just looking out for their well.
And it was also interesting, especially if we're right about Gimmick secretly being a mutant, it makes me wonder, how would she feel about her son hanging out with Gimmick when she finds out she's a mutant and that she's been facilitating him being in these dangerous situations?
I mean, in this, we're harking back to those days where there were secret identities and teenagers were sneaking out to be superheroes and keeping that information from parents, which Marvel hasn't done in a very long time, at least in the X-Men book continuity. I haven't really keeping up with everyone who's been a victim of Kamala's Law, but we don't see that very much. And I think what they're trying to do here in Children of the Atom is harken back to those days when there was danger for the original X-Men. And what it would be like for them if they were teenagers still living at home without being under the guise of their bald, white, cishet male leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because the last time we've seen mutant kids having to have secret identities about their heroics is probably Generation X. Because for a time, while the school was operating, they couldn't be known publicly for being a mutant school, so the Gen X kids had to keep their identities a secret. After that, you go into the new X-Men Academy X, where the kids are mostly civilians. They do stuff, but their identities are not a secret. And ever since then, the school, gets blown up, it moves, and mutant kids are just mutant kids doing whatever. Okay, right. The one correction I have to that, but it's a joke book, is when Anoli and Rockslide, rest in peace Rockslide, were teaming up together to fight crime in San Francisco, and they wore costumes so no one would know who they were. But that's just more for fun.
That's also ridiculous because Anoli is a giant lizard and Rockslide is a fucking mountain.
Well, that was what was ridiculous about Rockslide, because he was a giant fucking mountain. But Anoli was wearing like a cowl and this hilarious brown handlebar mustache.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it could be some other lizard person.
I mean, in the MCU, actually, that is a valid point. There are several of those running around. But
it can't
they
be
usually
me.
have symmetrical limbs.
It can't be me. I can't even grow facial hair.
I still don't really know what to think of the kids, but I did actually really enjoy Cherub's backstory. I thought it was really refreshing to read and probably a very nuanced thing to tackle in terms of the stories that are told about people of color and young Black men who feature in books. I think that was really nice to have on the page.
Yes, unfortunately, very timely. But how can it not be when there's another shooting every week?
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed seeing his story and hearing more about him. Also, side note, anybody brave enough to try his little workout routine that he posted?
Oh my God, I actually kind of thought about it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can do some of these. I don't think I can do the clapping push-ups.
Hell no, be regular push-ups, baby.
I would love it if Vita Ayala, if they actually looked up a suitable workout routine and pasted it into this book. Like, it's legit correct. You can do it.
It looks really similar to ones that I've used.
I agree. It looks legit. I actually forgot what I was looking at while I was reading this. I read comics on my phone, and I tried to click the swole search smoothie. I forgot myself for a second, just for a second.
That's it, guys. This is it. That's what we're doing for our bonus video. This will be on the Patreon. We're all going to get together. We're going to do Cherub's workout routine, and we're going to figure out the recipe for this swole smoothie.
Right? Leave in the comments what you think the swole search smoothie would include.
I just want to have it on record that I hate Nighty Nightcrawler. He keeps changing his name. He's terrible at teleportation. He is everything. He's bad. I don't like him. He's a bad person. He's a small child. He's annoying. He nearly got his friends killed because he didn't think that he should teleport farther than a room away. Like, I wanted the Hell's Bells to kill him.
I did read in here where they talk about Cyclops Lass as a name, and also they mention how he's changing his name to Nighty Nightcrawler. And I wondered if that wasn't in real time for like real-time dialogue changes because of the way that those names were received when the issue actually came out.
Right. But I mean, also, youngest kid with defensive power who's kind of fucking things up with the older and more experienced mutants. Who's that sound like? Kitty Pryde.
Yeah,
it absolutely was. I mean, it is a kitty sort of thing going on here.
Yeah, the X-Men franchise is robbing itself with this series.
I just struggle to care about these kids.
Yeah. I'm caring about them a little bit more. You know, they're becoming a little bit more endearing to me, but the weight of this mystery is going to become too tedious, and I really need to find out what's going on. And let's just move on to, if they really are mutants, or even if they're not, and we're reading this book, reveal what that is, and let me start caring about them as actual characters. What makes them compelling beyond the fact that they're trying to get to this island and they can't.
I am really afraid that the issue of its publication order being and it having been delayed is really going to affect that when we reach the end of this mystery, it's going to be something that relates to something we already know, that is not that big a reveal, much like Resurrection.
And has essentially like drained the tension out of the book.
Right. Is this a limited series? Do we know?
I hope.
You hope?
I didn't say that.
No, I kind of do. I don't think there's enough steam for it to continue.
Plus, I am done with this secret identity hiding from my family storyline. We are well past that in this, Montero age. It is time to just embrace who we are and not be ashamed.
Yeah.
Call me by your mutant name.
Exactly. I was about to say the same thing. Mutant and proud.
Yeah. Oh, I was wondering though, if this is a limited series, then could it be possible, if it's a limited series, that something horrible is going to happen to these kids, and with Storm being a major player, it might contribute to the big shift and change that Storm is slated for future titles soon.
I think Storm is just here as a senior example of a mutant and an X-Man to lend a little bit more credibility to the mystery of these kids. I don't think that this is necessarily going to end in tragedy. I think these kids are all pretty likable, and I think having them end in tragedy would be out of tone for the book.
Bruh, Marvel Comics of the past 10 years. Half, if not all of these kids are going to die by the end of this series.
We are no longer living in the Chris Yost, Craig Kyle era, okay? These kids are not going to die. I absolutely forbid it.
Fingers crossed that Nighty Nightcrawler is one of them.
I mean, we are not in Avengers Arena. We are not in Childhood's End. Jesus, like, enough with the kid killing.
Okay, if not die, then they will be revealed to be like Ultimates escapees, or scrolls, or who knows? Like, there's so many possibilities here.
Maybe that's what will happen here. These kids are actually just synthesized mutants. They're not real mutants. And there's some more nefarious stuff happening in the background. Maybe some sinister stuff.
It's Mephisto. I promise.
It's Mephisto.
You mean Mephisto?
First of all, we're not discussing your kinks.
Callisto? Mephisto Callisto?
You keep saying continuity. Why continuity and not the popular and base continuity?
Well, I don't know. I just heard the way Cosmere said it, and she also told Nemur and Callisto and Polaris.
Yeah.
DeVon has left the chat.
Let's just ask what Cosmere, Polaris, Nemur, Callisto, and also Dakin.
DeVon can't with your S right now.
Oh, Dakin. Oh, that one hurt me.
Stop.
Oh, DeVon's had a long day. Let's not do this to him.
This is my fourth vodka whiskey ginger ale. I don't even remember which alcohol I'm drinking.
All right, so our next title is Wolverine number 11. All right, and 3, 2, 1, go.
Wolverine fights vampires. The end.
All right, and that was 4 seconds. Yay!
Yay!
I mean, that was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
When you look at it, what struck me is when you look at the character list for Wolverine number 11, you see the well-known X-Men characters: Wolverine, Sade, Beast, then Louise, and then Dracula, and then Omega Red. It was like, one of these things is not like the others.
I know I've read Louise somewhere.
She was in Wolverine.
Was she in Wolverine before? Yep. Yeah, I'm just not paying attention with this book. Now, I am going to take this moment to say that last episode, we all predicted with our precognizant destiny powers that this book might be our lowest. And I'm sorry, this book didn't really put up much of a fight.
No, it didn't. I mean, look, okay, sure. If I had to give a more detailed summary, I would talk about how they don't trust Omega Red, how Omega Red is talking with Dracula, and Dracula's like, yes, good. And I would talk about how Louise was apparently turned into a vampire, but she's not a vampire yet, and she's staved it off by eating garlic? Is that why I haven't turned yet?
Injecting herself with garlic and holy water. Inoculating, she says, which I really think is more like that should kill you, but okay, whatever. That's not how this works. Like, that's not how any of this works.
Thank you.
The thing here that I don't really understand, so there is an interesting plot point that is running through this story where, as we saw in King of Black number 5, that the vampires are trying to gain some semblance of legitimacy in society. And so they're paralleling the rise of mutants in terms of their power and their dominance because of Krakoa with what Dracula wants for vampires in this vampire nation or these vampire people. And so they're trying to find a way to basically allow their people to be out in the sun, and with that gain the kind of popularity and freedom to act the way that mutants do out in society, which I think is interesting and also ridiculous.
No, it is so many kinds of problematic that it hurts.
And the thing here is, my big question, and this is just a in-universe question, is we've seen that vampires can protect themselves from sunlight through any variety of mystical enchantments that exist out there. So why not just source a bunch of those and try, instead of trying to create something out of Wolverine's blood to basically keep themselves? Yeah, because it's that Wolverine blood. I mean, and likewise, Wolverine also goes on this killing spree where he talks about vampires who want to die. You know, they didn't realize what they were getting into when they became vampires, and they don't want to do it anymore. And then vampires that want to drink human blood, and so he gets to kill them, which I guess is, if you can kill no man, now we're just shunting Wolverine over to killing vampires instead to satiate that reader bloodlust. But with Jubilee, when she became a vampire and she joined the Forgiven were a group of vampires who trained themselves to no longer have the urge to feed on human blood. So And Jubilee even had an amulet that protected her from sunlight. So all these things exist in universe, and yet Dracula is really stretching himself thin to find a way to make vampires immune to sunlight by harvesting Wolverine's blood. Okay.
So to be fair, Wolverine's blood at this point is more prevalent than any mystical amulet, considering the
That's
number
true.
of Wolverine clones that there are in universe, and the number of times Wolverine has died and left his body just wherever.
Exactly.
So, I think, Dracula's made a pretty good investment here.
Speaking of Dracula, this is verging into flat scan territory a little bit, but I just want to say that weirdly, he showed up in 3 books that I read this week. Now, Wolverine was the X book that he showed up in. He also showed up in King in Black 5, and he shows up in Black Cat number 5
First
out of
all,
nowhere.
we cannot be X-Men fans and be surprised by this. We can be
Yeah.
exhausted by it, and let's express that because we are exhausted by Wolverine.
Mhm.
Especially because who are we talking about? Wolverine, the queen of being in multiple places in
True.
multiple books at one freaking time. So
Like, this is a secondary mutation for him.
right, and clearly this is a secondary mystical demonic power for Dracula.
Yeah, Vlad's just playing catch up at this point because he's everywhere right now. And it's
Okay.
suggested at the end of this book that Omega Red is going to come clean to like Sage and Beast about what he's been doing.
Yeah, though they also seem to suggest that that's also part of a larger plan with Dracula.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
Could go
how
either
will-
way.
Yeah, so
DeVon, there is one development in this book that I'm surprised you haven't mentioned. Beast is
And-
in this book, but he is blue and furry.
So does this take place before or after?
We don't know.
Well, now I'm just pissed. I had forgotten about that. To be honest, to be quite honest, I did not pick up on that. I was waiting for a Beast resurrection scene. Again, the publication order is what is really screwing me up. I'm not sure if this was meant to be published at this time. But Wolverine's appearances always confuse me chronologically. So who knows?
the other thing here is, again, I'm just reemphasizing that like we're clearly supposed to care more about this revelation with Louise, and Louise is a character who is so foreign to me that I don't really understand why I'm supposed to care so much about her, that Wolverine is letting her drink his blood, someone is observing them, and that he's so ready to kill her because she's become one of the undead, despite the fact that he knows that vampirism can be controlled because he also didn't kill Jubilee. So if she's looking for a way out and she's someone that he cares about, he can always refer her to this group.
Yeah. Well, not just that. We've only known Louise for, I think, maybe 1, at most 2 issues.
Right.
I am pretty sure she didn't exist before the Wolverine book. One more thing that has been bothering the hell out of me for a while now. And Omega Red just keeps making me think of it because they kept bringing up Russia and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell is Colossus?
He's farming with that water controlling mutant who doesn't want him to do anything.
Yeah, like, well, there's supposed to be this big thing because before X of Swords, he was in a brig or something.
He was being interrogated by Beast and publicly arrested as an example to others that felt really shitty for Beast to do, is such a senior X-Men and a good friend. Yeah, and Peter really took that in stride, but is feeling pretty raw about Beast right now.
I kind of feel like we were promised more of Colossus after that. Like, they explained that he was locked up somewhere during X of Swords. Hadn't seen him since, and I'm mad about it.
Colossus really has been sidelined. It's interesting. He's one of the most prominent X-Men. A lot of the X-Men are getting their time to shine among the main cast, and he really has been benched.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, even just as someone who's like a strong guy, right? Like, you're not really seeing, and I don't know why he's so absent.
But it's not just that. It's that he is not a fighter. He doesn't want to be in this conflict. And the fact that he, only shows up every now and then when they drag him back into something, really illustrates how out of the fray he wants to stay. And he's doing that as much as is possible. So I'm okay with him not being in the comics, given his new pacifist nature, or at least not in the fighting of the comics. I would be okay with him showing up in some cameos, in some of the downtime, showing up to Blue Lagoon every now and then, maybe golding magic and still pretending that she's his little sister that he knew.
Little snowflake. But that's what I'm saying is a lot of these books inevitably are going to have combat. But these books have been providing opportunity to see mutant characters in a lot of different settings. So maybe he'll show up in X Corp, right? Or something like that.
That'd be good.
And
I'm
I don't
really
know
excited.
why we're not seeing that, right? We're seeing Blob, we're seeing Jumbo Carnation as a fashion source for mutants. There are so many ways that mutants are being used in the daily life of Krakoa. And Peter, as a pacifist, as a gardener, as an artist, or even as someone who's trying to do some soul searching because of a lot of the things that he's gone through and a lot of the fighting he's had to do, where is that story? And I don't feel like that's even being explored in the least. I don't know why, outside of what's been happening in X-Force.
Well, we've had a lot of Colossus in the past several years.
That's true.
We're bringing up stories of lesser known, or with the exception of Wolverine, we're trying to bring up the stories of some of the lesser known X-Men.
Yeah.
Hell, I before this run didn't even know who Tempo was.
I
Yeah.
love Tempo.
I love Tempo. And frankly, I only came to love Tempo because of Age of X when I found out that she's queer like us. Yay. You have a lot of these X books padded with newer characters. You have Joanna Cargill, you have Pyro. And while they're on these teams, it may be too early, but you're not getting a lot of character time on them. They're there, they do certain things. It would be really cool that now you have an opportunity where these people are not villains. Explore them, develop these characters.
I would like to point out that Joanna Cargill, Pyro, they're not newer characters, but they are newly nuanced characters.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That's what I mean. They are protagonists now. We're not seeing them as just oppositionary forces. So now we have the opportunity to explore them. That's what I think is so cool about, if you use Emma as an example, Emma was still a prominent character as a prominent protagonist because of Gen X, but she really didn't become a true senior X-Men until Grant Morrison's run with her. And from there, she became really a prominent, if not one of the de facto X-Men characters that you're going to see in every adaptation and on page. And you can do that with a lot of these characters who were otherwise one-dimensional villains who used to exist if you just lay the story groundwork for them. And I think there's a lot of fertile ground to do that. And I'm excited to see who that could be.
Look at how they fleshed out the Vanisher from X-Force days. Like, these are the kinds of things you can do with these cast-off characters.
Mm-hmm. Or, frankly, for me, X Factor, iBoy, I'm really starting to like him.
Yes.
And he could have just been a one-off character. He could be a Beak character, and yet he is prominent in this book and a lot of fun. So.
Right?
Yeah, I had a lot of doubts when I first met iBoy way back when, because I had the exact same thought. I was like, oh, this is a Beak kind of character. Mm-hmm. I hate Beak. I'm going to hate you. But he's just so damn endearing.
Right. See,
Yeah.
X-Men authors, we don't need more Wolverine. We can do just fine with all the other 1,000 X-Men characters that exist in canon.
Yeah, be bold. I think that's what's so cool is, as a writer, you could take a character that means nothing, and that character, because of what they've written, could have a enormous storied career through the X comics into the future, all because you just decided to play with this person.
I just realized the perfect example of what we've been asking for. WizKid.
Yeah, WizKid.
Yeah, see?
There was a kid I didn't give two shits about. Like, when Inferno was happening, he was the weakest part of the Inferno storyline for me. I was like, if you'd not killed Cypher, this would be Cypher. and he disappeared basically after Inferno. Never saw him again until Sword. And now he's really cool.
Right. Yeah. She's only had one comic appearance that I know of. Might have been in Necrotia, but Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah.
Big movie presence. Big catalyst for Emma's story on Genosha. We know nothing else about her. Mm-hmm.
But you put her in the movie and she is back. I think she showed up again in some version of Deadpool.
Yeah, she's in Deadpool's comics.
Yeah.
No.
And they actually said that her powers, she basically willed herself back to life. And so she has some level of reality altering powers.
Yeah. And rather than constantly focusing on Iceman, Kate, and these others, if you have added these people to your teams, tell me more about them. And we kind of get glimpses of it. Again, that moment I love with Joanna and Sword, those are great beats. And I want to see those characters developed more. We did see that with Manifold, which was cool.
I will say that Pyro actually, I think he's been getting excellent treatment in Marauders. Not just for, the drawing of his posterior, but also like just the little glimpses. Like there was that time when Yellow Jacket was invading his body and the revenge that he got for that. Yeah, the tattoo. There was a time when he made the giant ice stick with Iceman recently.
We suspect.
We suspect.
The alleged giant ice stick. The other thing I thought that could have been was a very provocative man made out of ice and man made out of fire sharing the tender act of love.
Oh, that is an image that I am loving. Flames on the side of my face, burning, breathless, heaving flames.
But maybe that's what the title was secretly and subtly hinting at.
They're dating now.
Okay, real talk. It seems to me, based on what Christian Frost is up to, and the fact that I think Bobby and Pyro were having sex in Iceman's book for a while.
Not the same Pyro.
Oh, a different Pyro.
There's a different Pyro?
Yeah, he's gay. He was introduced in X-Men Gold and then added to the team. And well, he was introduced as a Brotherhood member for Mesmero's Brotherhood. And then he was added to the team because he felt what they were doing was evil. And then him and Bobby hooked up. And then Bobby was like, nah, let's not keep doing this. And then they had sex again at Rogue's wedding. And that's been pretty much it.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. But it seems like to me that the mutants on the island, especially the queer ones, are out just having a good old time and, taking it easy, not putting labels on stuff.
Can you imagine the grinder grid on Krakoa?
Which is everybody.
Yeah.
Really? It's X Factor and maybe 4 or 5 other people. And then no one for hundreds of miles.
No, I'm saying that anyone is now.
Yeah, all bets are off.
All bets are off. Everyone try everything. It's a smorgasbord, which is a great segue into the book I'm going to review, which is Runaways Number 35. I chose to review this book, one, because I occasionally read the Runaways. I'd stopped a few issues back, but I always love checking in on Molly. She's one of our mutants. She intersects with the X-Men occasionally, specifically Wolverine, which is always adorable and hilarious. But I did kind of want to see what was going on there. You have a lot of queer activity happening. And to my surprise, I found out that this really was a topical issue because the setup here is that Wolverine and Pixie arrive at the Runaways cave because they received an SOS message purportedly from Molly trying to get to Krakoa. And so they've come to basically pick her up and take her there. And they're worried that she has been put in danger or coerced into canceling that request. And then they find out that it actually wasn't Molly. And so this issue is trying to figure out who sent that message and why.
3, 2, 1, go.
So basically, they resolve their differences in trying to figure out where this mutant SOS signal has come from because they've determined it's not actually coming from Molly. And so Pixie has arrived to basically help, and so has Wolverine with the other Runaways. And they found hidden somewhere a house. And inside they actually find a young mutant who has illusion casting powers, who does not want to go to Krakoa because she doesn't want to leave her mom. And the revelation is that it's actually the mom who sent the messages because she wants her daughter to be able to get help on Krakoa to control her powers.
Aww.
And that parallels Molly's own concern about leaving the Runaways in order to go to Krakoa. And the girl is eventually convinced that she should go through the gate and learn how to use her powers. And Molly also feels that she probably has the freedom to do so as well. But Chase doesn't want her to leave, and Wolverine relents and says, I think she's in good hands. And Pixie and the new girl and Wolverine depart, and Molly decides to stay with the Runaways.
1 minute and 10 seconds.
Thank you. There were some more. I know we haven't really been following this book, and I know the two of you have not read it. There were more details that were happening with the other characters in there, but I kept it eccentric. Another thing that's been going on is that Nico, who has the staff of one inside of her, now whenever she tries to cast spells, has to allow a demonic magician whose soul was trapped in the staff to bleed some of his soul into hers whenever she casts magic, instead of having to sacrifice by cutting blood. And she has finally revealed that to Carolina, who's her girlfriend. And Carolina is really shocked by it. And then in the meantime, Chase seems to be going off on dates with not the teenage Gert, who has been brought back to this time, but apparently an older Gert who seems to have time traveled from the future and is now more age appropriate for him. But I think that was the cliffhanger, so they'll probably explore that in future issues. The really cool thing here, and in the back issues I read for this storyline, is, of course, there's a great history between Wolverine and Molly in the Runaways. The first time she met him, Wolverine scared her, and she clear punched him out of a church with her superpowers. And in this case, the great thing is, and what I always love seeing when artists do it, is reminding us that Wolverine is not a 6'2" tall, statuesque hero. He's a pretty short guy, but he's powerful. And in this, the hilarious sight gag is that Molly is now old enough that she is taller than Logan, even though she's still a teenager. And so they arrive there in an earlier issue trying to rescue her because they think that the others might be controlling her or it's a dangerous situation. Molly doesn't understand it, and she picks up Wolverine and slings him over her shoulder and is just holding him there while they're trying to figure out what's going on. It's adorable. There's also an interesting queer moment that when Nico and Pixie split off from the other group to try to figure out where this mutant SOS signal is coming from, they're attacked by a bunch of demons, and Nico finally uses her magic to banish the demons. And Pixie and Nico, who had been feeling a bit tense before then, are so excited that they wrap arms around each other. And in the beginning of this issue, Nico has to tell herself, no, you always do this. You gotta stop. You always get wrapped up in this moment. And so she's apparently super feeling Pixie in that hot second in the beginning of this. So I love the queerness. I love that Nico, they're not playing around anymore with Nico's sexuality. She's been in this relationship with Carolina. So that's been pretty fun. And it's always great to see the X-Men in here. Chase is very protective of Molly, and his perspective and Nico's perspective on what's been going on with Krakoa is that it's a mutant island prison, that it's a place that's a conformity factory. So they're very skeptical of everything that's going on, even though Pixie and Wolverine are trying to tell them that this is Molly's home. She can come here anytime. And ultimately, I think Molly realizes that she does have that opportunity to cross over, like the girl who's introduced in this story. But she is deciding to stay with her family, but those options are open to her.
My familiarity with the Runaways is mostly from the Hulu TV show.
Oh.
So I wasn't aware of the age disparity between Chase and Gert.
So the storyline there is that when they all start off, they are the same ages, but there's a storyline that happens later on where Gert sacrifices herself and is killed to protect Chase. And so Gert dies. She's no longer in the stories. And eventually the kids get older, right?
Several years pass, yeah.
Yeah, several years pass. So right now in the storyline, Chase and Nico are probably like in their early 20s. And so are the rest of the Runaways, because Molly is no longer a little girl. She's now probably like in like freshman year. She's like 15 or something, which is why she's taller than Logan now. And so through some magic that Nico is able to use, they're able to go back in time and pluck Gert out of that situation before she dies and bring her to the present. The problem is Gert and Chase know that they have these feelings for each other, but several years have passed and Chase is now in his 20s. Gert is still like 16 years old. So they decide to not be in a relationship anymore, despite the conflict that's going on there. And then Gert is in high school again. But the twist at the end of this issue is Chase has been coming and going and seeming really chipper and happy when he does, and they all think he's dating somebody. And that seems to be a Gert who is his same age, who has a purple streak in her hair and has come probably from the future.
Which is also interesting because before Gert's death, they met a future adult version of her.
Yeah.
She time traveled from the future.
Mm-hmm.
And her hero name was Heroine, I think.
Yes, heroine.
And
Really?
she died actually.
And actually, the cool X-Men bit from that future version of Gert as heroine is they show her fighting Victorious along with Hisako, who is named as the current leader of the X-Men. So Hisako graduates to be the leader of the X-Men. Gert becomes a heroine for the Avengers. And she's the leader of the Avengers. So
Yeah.
Runaways has always intersected in a lot of ways with X-Men stuff. Back when the X-Men moved to San Francisco, there was a whole story about Molly going over there to kind of see, like, what's going on? Should I be part of this? And Emma has some fun times like chatting with her. And I still really enjoy Runaways, even if I've been sticking mostly to the X books for a while. I just always think the relationship between Molly as a mutant, and an incredibly powerful one. And Molly showed up in All New X-Men as one
Yes.
of the
Battle of the Atom?
Battle of the Atom, as one of the time traveling mutants who came to settle the hash.
Things didn't go well for her though.
And things didn't go well for her. But Molly is a clear, understood mutant presence who is outside a lot of the X book circle. So
One of the very few.
yeah, really. It was interesting to see Pixie wrapped into the queer storylines that also involve Nico. I didn't really see that coming. I mean, good for her. Explore that queerness, mutants. That's what I think is so cool sometimes, is just the twist of something can make a character so much more prominent in ways that you never predicted. I mean, when Nunzio De Philippis and Christina Weir created Pixie, did they ever think that Pixie, who never had much screen time in the original Academy X books, would become a character who pretty much was your viewpoint character for Uncanny X-Men during Matt Fraction's run, and subsequently show up in a book like Runaways, having a queer old time with other characters? So anyway, just to wrap up with Runaways, I just thought there was a cute story. It was nice to see a story where a parent is looking out for their child who is a mutant and wants their child to go to Krakoa because it's a different perspective on Krakoa as a place for mutants to learn how to control their powers and be safe. And instead of being a scary place or a politically threatening place, in this story, you have a mother who views it as something that is beneficial to her daughter and has reached out to the X-Men and mutantdom to facilitate her daughter getting the help that she needs, instead of, the butthole white Avengers coming through to the embassy and trying to play big and get smacked down by Mystique and Storm.
I just gotta say, Mystique and Storm have come a long way since Mystique tried to roundhouse kick one of her lightning bolts.
Wow. Comics.
Comics, everybody. So let's move into our next section, which is our tops and bottoms.
Well, I honestly feel this is going to be a short section. I feel like we all can agree on what the bottom is. Let's all say it together. Wolverine.
Why can't we do this?
Because there's actually a timing issue with Zoom. One more time.
3, 2, 1.
Wolverine. Okay, no.
1, 2, 3.
Wolverine. There we go. That's how we fix that.
Yay.
All right. Now, Terence, I don't want you to do any editing. I just want all of this.
Yeah. I mean, Wolverine was the lowest. There's just not a lot there. And the things that make Wolverine cool, I mean, I don't think Runaways is in our top here because it's not an X book. But Wolverine is really cool in this book. He's grouchy, but he is who he is. And that's the side of Wolverine that's really interesting and endearing, having to interact in this new reality. The Wolverine who's in this Wolverine book is just, there's nothing there except hack and slash. There's no depth. There's nothing to really grip onto. There's nothing compelling. So definitely Wolverine bottom for me.
I agree. Wolverine should have stayed dead. That is clearly an impossibility in this point in time. And just from a financial standpoint, he's clearly the best selling.
Is it because of the flat scans? Is that why he's selling so well?
Yes, but I'm just so tired of the hack and slash, brooding tough guy with a mysterious past bullshit. It's tired. Please let it die.
So I guess this means that our top for the week is Children of the Atom.
By default, in my opinion.
Unfortunately.
I didn't dislike it, or I wasn't as apprehensive about it as last time. I did have some space to enjoy those characters. It still isn't the greatest. I'm certainly not naming it my top from the get-go.
So is it really a top then, or is it like I predicted and we have two bottoms?
It is like one of those fish that is compelled to change its biological sex because all the other fish are female and the species needs to continue. So this is our clutch top.
No, this is our verse bottom.
It'll do in a
But-
pinch.
Begrudgingly.
This is the bottom who really wasn't planning on topping, and everyone suffers at the orgy because of it.
Right. You said you were verse.
All right, let's go to our latest section, Destiny's Due Days.
All right, so next week you can look forward to Sword number 5, Way of X number 1, and X Force number 19. I am very excited about the new titles, Way of X, and eventually we'll see X Corp, which is what I am most looking forward to. I don't know why exactly. I am that kind of nerd.
It's world building. I think you want to know, how does everything function?
I can't tell you how excited I would be to read about the X-Men's tax returns.
Oh gosh.
That would actually thrill me. I want
Speaking
to
of-
see what their expenses are. Like, how much adamantium are they buying for Wolverine's resurrections? Like,
Well, and how much do the drugs actually sell for?
yeah, I'm fascinated.
I mean, is the economy really just based on Krakoan flowers?
And I think they might be dabbling in drugs, but I'm not sure. Like the illicit use of the Krakoan flowers.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, we've all been waiting on pins and needles for Way of X, especially since it's supposed to start addressing the questions about resurrection protocols. And it also features Nightcrawler, who is a group favorite. X-Force, I don't know, but are we gonna hash this out? DeVon, how do you feel about Nightcrawler?
I
You
mean,
better be
I
careful.
like him. He's not a bad character. He's not one of my favorites, no.
I mean, I love Kurt. I think he's great. I appreciate that he's a religious character who's never been super judgmental. You know, he's always been very open and fun and fuzzy and adorable and debonair.
I mean, that is true. That is rare.
Flames on the side of my face. Boiling. Flames. Raining. Flames. Sorry. Nightcrawler is my favorite comic book character of all time.
Wow.
Period.
Wow. And you know that Emma exists, right?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. With all of that said, I love Kurt Wagner the most out of any comic book character ever. I adore him. I am super excited for Way of X. I hope that they get him right. It seems like they will. My fear is, like so many writers before, we're gonna get a lot of religious Nightcrawler and not swashbuckler Nightcrawler.
Dude, the book is called Way of X.
And it's about him establishing a mutant religion. But there is reason to believe that Kurt could be kind of different. The one that kind of threw me off a bit was Kurt deciding, when he is finally asked in the Krakoan Council what his opinion is about everything, his main response is with a very perverse grin to say,
Devilish.
with a devilish grin to say, we need to make more mutants. And that seemed a little out of character to me, but
No, it is not, baby. No, it is not. So the thing is that Nightcrawler, there's no way to say this politely. Nightcrawler fucks.
Oh yeah, I can tell.
He does. The ladies love him in that blue velvet fur. Possibly Wolverine loves him too. And
Wolverine is more into the twinks, as we've exhibited by his hot tub time with Scott.
No, Scott is, if nothing else, a himbo.
he's a twunk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, you're right.
yeah. Best.
Kurt is a twink. He is slim. Wolverine's pet name for him is Elf. Like you can tell that's being used in more private context, but he has never seemed like a creepy dude bro, and that moment felt a little like,
It
let's
felt
make
creepy
more
dude bro to you?
Yeah, it was like in that way. It's like, yeah, let's make more babies. It's like Will Arnett whenever he has to play a role in anything that he's in. You know, like I was like, that seems a little out of character, but I think that can be contextualized, and
I mean,
maybe we'll see something more interesting with Kurt in Way of X.
I think we've already seen what Way of X leads to in Powers of 10. We've already seen that the descendants of Nightcrawler's genetic line are non-combatants.
Cardinal, right?
They're complete pacifists. So I think that's where we're going.
And then our last book that we were talking about was Sword. And
X-Force.
Sword, you know, I still think Sword is a really interesting book. So maybe that will come out strong, especially now that we no longer have to deal with King in Black.
Thank God.
So if we're going to see more with the galactic exploits of the X-Men, that could still really, really come out strong.
Yes,
So
I am really excited for them to finally tell us what that thing they retrieved in the first issue was, because I am still confused.
yeah, I
But,
thought it was somehow related to either the Cosmic Cube or the Macron crystal, but somewhere in there. But it'd be nice to really have that, not just telling us what it is, but essentially telling us what's the story that your book is seeking.
Yeah,
What
we
it-
don't know what you're about still.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And an X-Force, well, I think we know who our bottom's going to be.
Probably.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know which of the 7 storylines of X-Force we're going to pursue in this one, but
So
I think
we
it's
might
still Choir, right?
are we still doing Choir? Because we might go back to
because
that
he was
whole,
in
like,
he was in
sea.
no, he had the seizure.
Yeah, but we're also dealing with those sea creatures, right?
Oh, you mean the one that's based off of that weird plant life that's
Yeah,
like,
the weird plant thing.
I
well,
thought Namor was handling that.
no, Namor's busy getting his ass kicked trying to like get the Phoenix in Avengers
Oh.
number 44.
Blech.
Ugh. But so we might be some lucky queers and have the rare opportunity to have one bottom and 2 very aggressive tops.
My goodness.
I think you get your hopes up, as always.
I
mean, but which one-
I can't
which
tell you how
one-
many times I've been promised this.
I like to keep my expectations low, so I'm never disappointed.
As always, folks, if you enjoyed our conversation today, please like, comment, and subscribe in the box below. And please send us an email to goodmorningkrakoa@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
But if you have a topic you want to hear about or hear us talk about, shoot it to our email. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, we have been explicitly avoiding talking about the Hellfire Gala that's coming because we're going to have a whole episode where we do nothing but talk about it. So that's something to look forward to. Other than that, feel free to shoot us messages. If you have something about the gala that you want us to talk about, send that too, and then we can talk about it on that episode. It's going to be our first special.
Do you have some sort of businesswoman special?
The best I can offer is an AARP discount. That's it for us today, folks. Good morning, Krakoa, and good night.